because in the beginning it's so fun. In the beginning, it's so. You know what I'm talking about?
In the beginning.
In the beginning. In the beginning. Yeah.
In the beginning. I mean, I was stuck on that word for like an hour in front of a speech. Bro, first.
in the beginning. So today on the Unplug podcast, we're going to be going over a couple of things, and we're kind of just going to get straight to the point.
Cool.
So I took some notes down, and there's going to be a portion where we spin the wheel, and it can pick a topic for us.
Oh, I like that.
So the things that we're going to cover today are going to be personal accounts of pre-birth experiences, benefits of cold exposure. This is something I've been getting into lately.
I've been wanting to do that myself. I've tried it a little bit.
I'm day 3, so
it's intense.
Okay, yeah. Benefits of cold exposure, and then if we have time, the Zach Bagans' Haunted Mansion. So it's basically that it's a museum, not a mansion, a museum. So it's basically a museum filled with all kinds of like cursed objects and legitimate things that are like just there for people to go and see as like a tourist, but they're like
cool.
real items and shit that are known to be like haunted, like all those dolls that you see from the movies. I don't even want to say the names, like Annabelle, you know. So they have that. They have that there and
that
everything.
type of stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah. So those are gonna be the things we're covering today. So let's jump right into it. Okay, and then we're gonna spin the wheel now. We're gonna just whatever topic comes up, we're gonna dive into that. Okay, good. Benefits of cold exposure. This is something that I wanted to cover. I've been really wanting to test out and been curious about it just because I've been seeing it so much online. I know it started with like Wim Hof and stuff, and then you saw him on Joe Rogan's podcast and all the. I don't know have you seen Wim Hof on the Joe Rogan podcast?
No, I have not.
He's basically, they call him the Iceman, and he went on the podcast, and he was known for, or he was blowing up for all his cold exposure therapy and stuff that he was doing with it, and it was really crazy. Like he's the dude that climbed Mount Everest without a shirt, and he didn't have like pants or anything or any climbing gear. He just went in no shirt and shorts, and he climbed Mount Everest. And basically, he's defying all odds of like any things that we believe to be possible. Like there was a scenario where he believes, one of his personal beliefs, that by controlling your breathing, that you can actually take over your nervous system and control it at your own will. And to back that, he's the kind of guy that doesn't want to just say shit like that and then not have anything to back it up. So on top of his cold exposure therapy and him breathing and learning how to control his nervous system and immune system as well, they hooked him up to where they inject you, is that called intravenous?
Mm-hmm.
With like a needle. So they gave him E. coli bacteria, and it's supposed to make you really, really, really sick. And they put it in him intravenously, and nothing happened to him. He didn't get sick at all. Like he was just like laying in the bed as they injected him with E. coli, and he didn't get sick at all. Like nothing happened to him. And then they did it to other people because it wasn't just him, and there's people that got like severely sick and stuff like that.
And that was a testament to the cold exposure?
Yeah, like
benefits?
well, him, like
or
everything in the practice that he's doing as a whole. He's basically just proving the fact that you can control your immune system and fight off diseases if you want just by doing these things. So all that to say, I've been interested in the cold exposure therapy. It's I have some benefits here of it. Let me see. So boosts in testosterone, sperm count, combats against Alzheimer's, depression, ADHD, muscle recovery, brain function, strengthens the heart, cardiovascular system, increases white blood cells, which is a big one for me because recently my white blood cells in particular have been dropping over the last like 5 years, and they're at a level now where the doctor says it needs to keep an eye on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I actually needed to go back on my birthday, and I just never scheduled. So increases white blood cells. And there's
T cell counts, right? I think that's what it's called. T cells.
I don't know.
It's like your autoimmune.
Yeah. So they're the cells.
But your immune system, yeah.
Responsible for your immune system, yeah. Decreased inflammation, enhanced immune system. Yeah. So mental clarity, better sleep quality, increases energy levels. Like there's all kinds of stuff that goes into cold exposure therapy.
Who was I listening to? It was Joe Rogan, and I forgot who it was. They were talking about the benefits though of cold exposure and how actually how you don't want to do it after the gym
Yeah.
because it stops hypertrophy,
So you
which is
do
the
it
muscle
before.
before. Yeah, so like when you wake up, and then Joe was talking about how the sauna is beneficial for afterwards.
Mhm.
But there is this doctor, a little bit of a tangent, but it kind of comes around about the cold thing because he's a doctor that's talking about stopping the process of aging and
Mhm.
even possibly going the other
So,
direction.
so is this the guy that views aging as a disease?
I forgot his name, Doctor something. No, I don't know if he labeled it a disease,
Mhm.
but basically what they were trying to do, man, was teach the body how to, you know, go against its normal functions.
Yeah.
And essentially, with time, cells they age, and when they're continuously replicating, right? And they have these little things on, I don't know, some part of the DNA or some shit, and it's called a telomere.
Mhm.
And the best way to describe it, he described it like I forgot, I think it's called an agulent, or is that the hole of the shoe? But the little thing at the end of your shoelace, the hard part.
Mhm.
He says that with each time your cell replicates, that little thing, the telomere, gets shorter and shorter, and then the cell starts to forget what kind of cell it is, and that's essentially how we age. And then he was talking about how through cold exposure, how you so basically he'd take like a sample of your blood or something like that and tell you when you're essentially gonna die. I think Dana White even did a test similar to that recently, where he was like, your body is the age of like a guy that's like 67 or 70, but you're in your 50s.
So
This, and
basically,
they
they're
can tell
showing your expiration
your
date.
biological age. Like, yeah, you know,
Okay.
you've been alive for 50 years, but your body's aged such that you're older.
Mhm.
And so one of the remedies they were talking about was cold therapy, because like it puts the body into like a fight or flight or a survival mode. Best way to describe it. So he says like when things are good for the body, like when you're okay. He also said like ingesting a lot of protein
Mhm.
is detrimental to that telomere getting shorter and you're aging.
So bodybuilding is essentially
Eh,
not good for you.
if what he says is true, and again, like I don't know how many doctors prescribe to his findings. Like if you want to live for, well, it's not forever, but for significantly longer, these are things you can do. He's not saying don't work out, but just like when you deprive your body, so like warm showers also contributes to that. He's like, so because your body's comfortable, it's meant like, okay, we're in a habitat now for breeding, and your long-term survival isn't that necessary. Because if you think about it, I think one thing as humans we often do, we separate ourselves from every other animal in the animal kingdom because we have consciousness, we're aware of our existence. So we tend to think we're better, but I would say at the fundamental level, our purpose here on earth is to procreate and continue the human race.
Mhm.
So when you're in conditions such as, well, here, you know, we're well taken care of, we're well fed, you know, it's optimal for uh, human reproduction. Putting yourself into that cold stuff, he's like, he talked about cold showers, it actually reverses that because now your body's like, holy shit, like it's very, very cold or very, very hot. Like I think he even said like taking extraordinarily hot showers, put your body into that same like survival mode, which will help those telomeres regrow and give you a longer, in essence, life, you know, barring car accidents or some things of that nature. But he talked about cold showers, how that actually helps
Mhm.
regenerate those things of your cells or your genes. I think it's your genes actually that grant you access to a longer life. Again, barring acts of God or accidents and such.
Yeah, they like apparently when you do catch the common cold, you'll notice like a severely decrease in the amount of time that you're actually sick and the time that you feel under the weather. But I've been experimenting with it, and it's something that I was kind of not putting off, but I kind of wanted to do it the right way and do like the ice bath and
Mhm.
like get the actual ice cubes and then get the water to like 30 degrees or something like that, and then try and withstand it for at least 2 minutes to start. But I was like, why don't I just start in the shower? You know, I take a shower every single day. And
That's funny, bro. But did the same thing and it sucks, even for 2 minutes, dude.
so the first time I did it, the first day, I just had the thought pop in my head. I was like, I really want to try this now. I don't know if this counts or whatever, but I took my regular shower. And then at the very ass end of it, for as long as I could, I cranked that shit all the way to to cold.
So you
And
want to get your
it's-
bathing out of the way first comfortably.
Yeah,
And then.
because I still wanted to take a shower.
Uh-huh.
But I wanted to take that time to focus on trying to withstand the cold and get through it. So I cranked it, and right when the water hit me, I was like
Yeah.
trying to like control my breathing, and I was having trouble with that. And then I want to say I probably only lasted like maybe like 2 minutes doing that, but the more that I was focusing on my breathing, the easier it became. So I noticed
it's weird.
when I was just controlling my breathing, I would do what they call box breathing. You heard of the box breathing? So you exhale 4 seconds, hold it 4 seconds, inhale 4 seconds, hold it 4 seconds,
And then repeat. Okay.
And then that's supposed to slow your heart rate down and help you concentrate. So a lot of times people in the military, when they're training for high intensity situations and the situations that are going to be under the most threat, they practice their box breathing. So whenever that happens, it's kind of a natural reflex, so they can
Oh, okay.
slow their heart rate. And then also snipers in like sniper school practice that so they can shoot between beats,
Mhm.
shoot between heartbeats. So they want to get their heart rate as low as they can possibly get it so they can be less stressed. So apparently that helps with the cold exposure therapy. So I started doing that. And as soon as I started doing the box breathing, it got not easier, but I was able to control the shivering and then just kind of sit there. And then eventually I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm turning this off. But it was intense, like right when it hit me. And I don't know how cold the water is right now because we're in the middle of winter. I'm not sure. I didn't have a thermometer, but it felt really cold. And the second day was a lot easier than the first day by like a lot. And I was like, that's weird, just because you hear about building a tolerance to it. The longer you do it, the more you expose your body to that. Eventually, it just becomes, it's always going to be that shock that you get
Mhm.
on your skin, like the needles and everything, and like how cold it is. It's always going to be intense. That part doesn't go away. But the breathing and the shivering and stuff, it eventually you get to a point where you can just control it. And the second day I noticed that I was able to do it so much easier. And I was in there for double the time. And I was just standing there, and I was like getting to the point where I was like, all right, I dipped my head in there. I was turning around. I was like exposing my front and my back to it. And I was controlling my breathing just really long. And then the third day was even easier. I was like, this is I was literally standing there, and I was like, I said out loud, I was like, something's happening. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like I could feel my body adapting to it. You know what I mean? I'm excited to see like in the future when I start getting into the real thing, like how it's gonna benefit me. Because you're not gonna see benefits right away. You're gonna have to tie a bunch of time together of you doing it and to actually seeing benefits or come across a scenario where maybe it requires your immune system to fight back. But the process of just getting there is exciting. Like I got out of the shower and I just felt vibrant. Like my skin was
Okay.
radiating.
I was gonna say, man, because like the one time that I've done it, or I think I tried it off and on for, I don't know, a couple weeks. You
Yeah.
know, one day I was like, nah, not today. And then the next day, like, okay, let's stop being a little bitch about it and try it. But dude, like comparing, obviously I've taken the vast majority of my showers, barring like the water heater going out and having to suck it up with, but I've been warm, if not hot water, and so I'd say I have a lot of experience with that, like most of us do.
Mm-hmm.
But that, and like every time I took a cold shower, and like, see, I didn't do it like you did. I did the entire bathing process in the cold water.
Just only the cold.
Get right. And granted, my shower was drastically cut short. It was not like I was in there for 10, 15 minutes. It was like the basic essentials. Okay, I'm getting out.
How long did you do?
Maybe like a couple. I think I tried going for 5 minutes because I would check I'd look at my phone. Okay, minutes went by. I tried going for 5 minutes. But dude, I walked out feeling like $1 million. Like I just felt like ready to take on the day.
Me
like
too.
It was insane, dude.
Yeah,
like
I felt like I text my girl. I was like, I love cold showers.
right? Like it was insane, bro. I was like, dude, like, okay, if you just, and again, I think that goes to like the whole sacrificing that we all want, like instant stuff, like this little sacrifice. Okay, it could have been instant gratification to take a warm bath or a warm shower. You get out and like you're awake, but you're like, I won't say sluggish, but like that cold water just zaps out that I don't want to get up today mood. It just zaps it out of you, bro. Like there's no like, hey, you're shivering, you're cold as hell, but you walk out that shower and dry off, you're like, I'm ready to take on the damn day.
Dude, I was like, this is like a cup of coffee.
You said, yeah, but instant.
Yeah,
you know,
instant coffee, but better. Yeah, I got out and I was like, I was excited. I was happy, dude. I don't know what I would just. You would never think that just like exposing yourself to cold like that, and withstanding that one side of the knob that we never go to would
Yeah,
increase
no kidding, huh?
would increase and enhance like your mood overall and just the way you feel. And I felt and I the reason I started the first day, I think I remember, is because I was really tired. I was like, well, I wanted to do this anyway. Let me see if this wakes me up because I had to go to work shortly after. And sure enough, I got out, man. I just felt like my body was just like radiating with just not energy, but like because your skin retains some of that coldness. You know, when
Mhm.
you come outside and you touch some, you touch, it's just cold to the
Yeah, yeah.
touch. It retains that for like I want to say like 10 minutes. So you feel that, but throughout the day, I don't know if your body's supposed to feel looser or whatever, but I felt looser, even though that's weird. Like you'd think that that'll happen more with the heat.
Isn't it crazy, bro? How like okay, maybe this guy's different. I don't know if he set out on a quest to find what he's looking for within this cold exposure. But there's people actually out there right now like doing experiments on these types of things. Like
Mhm.
they're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
They're out here just looking for life hacks, dude. Like simple things you can do at home that don't require any sort of extra effort or
Mhm.
resources. It's just like, hey, dude, anything you're gonna save money because your water heater's not pumping, and boom, and the benefits that come from. I think it's crazy when you think about it. Just people out there doing these. Well, we're out here doing this podcast right now, and your neighbors are out there making noise.
Mm.
They're out there testing for these kind of. I think it's cool.
Yeah, what blows my mind is the initial thought that somebody has and the idea that pops into their head that kind of strings along together the idea of it happening, and then eventually it becomes this thing, and now everybody's talking about it. It's like how in the hell did you manage to figure out that just exposing yourself to the cold or to the heat or whatever is like it has that much of an impact? Like how did you figure that out? Like
Yeah, and then it's like really uh, found its way into sports science too.
for
Like
him,
a bunch of athletes are doing this now. I think Joe Rogan does it too.
yeah, he
He has
does it. He says he does it every morning now.
like I know C-Bum, the Chris Bumstead, Mr. Olympia,
Mhm.
physique or not classic physique competitor. Same
That's
thing.
essential for them and recovery.
Yeah, but it's
So,
just crazy though. Like now you just see it. Like I don't know if he actually has like an actual bath, but it looks like it's a freezer.
mhm.
Like he has one in his garage, and then I seen him go into his bathtub and just have these, 5 30-pound bags of ice and just dumps it in there, and then fills the rest up with water, and then submerges himself into it. That's
It's
some. That's
so
crazy.
so for Wim Hof, he said that he was just always drawn to the cold, which was a weird thing. He was always just drawn to it, infatuated by it. And one day he got into it, or just an extreme cold body of water, and he said he really really enjoyed it, and he felt more alive than anything when he got out. And that's what initially sparked the idea of him to start experimenting with cold. And then somewhere along the line, his wife committed suicide and it just rocked his world like it would to anybody, right? And it was because of depression. She was struggling with depression, and cold exposure therapy is the studies are saying that it's just as good for you as someone being on medication or some effective medication. It decreases that inflammation, which is causing that imbalance in your brain, and it's correcting it over a long period of time of cold exposure. Just like how the heat shock proteins with the sauna and
Mhm.
the cold shock proteins, like those combined, like that contrast therapy of the hot and the cold is just severely decreases the symptoms of depression. I could say that for myself. Like I notice a
Well, I
massive
mean, yeah,
difference
that's great. I mean, but like
from the
I
sauna though, and
like I think it's crazy how like that's like anecdotal because it's like anecdotal evidence because it's to you specifically, but like how many times do people have to report the same thing you just reported before it becomes like
makes sense to you.
this is like a thing, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And could you imagine the benefits mentally for someone that doesn't suffer from depression?
Yeah.
Just like how the extra boost in like, like for you, maybe you're getting to what a normal baseline would be for you, and maybe you exceed it a little bit. But if someone doesn't suffer from depression, can you imagine how much more like the positive emotions that'll be associated with that?
Yeah.
And of course, I'm sure there's a lot of health benefits that's around it as well.
Yeah, I just wish there was more awareness on it so people could jump into it,
I think it's slowly gaining traction, bro, because I'm starting to see like a lot of athletes that are like on Instagram or TikTok, like posting videos of it. And maybe people aren't aware of the reason why they're doing it. But the
Mhm.
fact that you're seeing it, it's like that's more. I mean, not to say more than enough, but it's at least it's a gateway. Like, oh, what's that about? And then if you're like me or like yourself or Shout out to Andrew. I don't know if you watched the podcast, but that dude's like, anytime we bring up a question in the group and we don't have an answer, that dude's on Google 17 seconds later with an answer. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think if there's anybody out there like us that do that, what the hell's that? It looks painful and unenjoyable, but he's doing it for a reason. You know, why is that? What makes him hit the top tier athlete of his his niche? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's check it out. I think that's cool. I think it's good that we're seeing it because I've seen it a lot, and you sounds like you know way more about it than I do. And
not enough, but
my point being though,
dabbling.
like still like I've seen it and don't know all the benefits associated with it, but it's making its way through, I'd say, mainstream social media.
For me, what drew me to it is just like taking my mind to the next level. The sauna's easy now, man. It's too easy. I enjoy it. There's really no challenge for me, involving the sauna. Like there's nothing about it that's challenging to me anymore. It's just a routine. And as a human, you get bored with things. You just want to keep, at least for me, I got the type of personality where I just want to keep, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I want to keep challenging myself and pushing myself. And I get addicted to that progress. And I just like sharpening my mind. And I love seeing my mind evolve before me, because you can feel those results and you can feel yourself overcoming things that you didn't think you could do. So for me, that's what drew me to it. I wanted to just take my mind and my body to the next level. And I feel like cold is one of those things that it's very intense and it's hard for anybody. And if you can get through that, I'm pretty sure you could apply that to other areas in your life. And
I think you
ready.
touched an interesting point too, man. Like you just said, you fell in love with the progress. Like you fell in love with the process. You know what I'm saying? And I feel most of us were, myself included, man. Like I try as much as I can to keep myself like focused on the transformation, the process itself. But sometimes I just get fixated on the end point and how far away from the end point that I am. And it gets daunting, dude. You're just like, damn, man. Like,
monotonous.
And then not even monotonous, bro. I'm just saying, like, why am I doing this?
But you need
like
that contrast, too.
that ends that my end point looks so far away. But if I'm focused on just the like you said, the process, before you know it, you look up and that dot's drawn into an image and it's becoming more vivid. And before you know it, there's a new dot in front of you because you already surpassed the one that you were complaining about. I said I'm guilty of that myself. I try not to be. I'm human and I make mistakes, but I feel that's a good point you brought up.
Yeah, bro. And I can't wait to see where it takes me. And one of these days I'm gonna vlog it. I asked my dad today. I wanted to use his pool at his house. I asked him how cold it got, and he said it was only like 60. But as soon as I can get it on a really cold day, I'm probably gonna film myself doing like a little ice bath thing, either over there or just set up something somewhere. And I want to do it. Or what we can do is we can go find a cold body of water, you and me. And we can do this shit together and jump in and then just vlog it for the pod.
I'm down.
What I mean?
I'm down.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I wanna struggle together, man. I wanna trauma bond. I wanna grow together because I see that you're on your fitness shit now, and you seem like you got your mind in a really good place. And I want to keep pushing that. So
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'll take any help I can get, man. That's one thing.
Not to help, but like to enjoy it.
No, but it's how often, bro, is like, do you want to go on an activity, but sometimes it's like, I don't feel like doing it by myself. And just having that extra person there, it's just like, all right, dude, fuck it. Let's go handle it. So to me, that's help,
Yeah.
Maybe that's the wrong word to describe it, but for me, that's what I see it as, and it's help. So I'm always open for more help and or more opportunity.
Yeah. And that's what I see this as an opportunity to just better myself. So, but yeah, so stay tuned for that. We're going to for sure expose ourselves to some difficult things.
I'm down, dude.
So,
just gotta get some gimbals for the shots.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we got another camera now, so we can do that. We can both vlog it, so it'll be dope. It'll be like a dual vlog. I want to transition here into another topic because we've already spent like 20 minutes on it. So, time to spin the wheel.
I thought it was something else.
You want to do chat GBT or pre-birth experience?
Let's just do pre-birth experience. It's fine.
Okay. I kind of wanted to get into that anyway. Pre-birth experiences. So did you watch that video I sent you?
I watched a little bit. When I got it, you sent it to me when it was already late and I was already drinking. So, and I was off a 16-hour shift.
So
I was pretty tired, so I ended up crashing out shortly after. But I watched it today before I came over here, probably about... Oh, I could look at it right now. 20 minutes? 25 minutes?
So did you pull anything from the...
Again, man, I feel like I'm going to be the skeptic in this duo for this topic.
Uh-huh.
To me, it's just kind of like, I know he said at one point there was I think about 40 other people that described similar experiences to him about being like having memories of a place that he came from and chose to come down to Earth as this experience. But I don't know. For me, I was just kind of like, it's just a kind of way to isolate yourself in a group of people talking about near-death experiences. Is just a way for you to like stand out amongst the group. Like, hey, well, I remember what it was like before I was born.
If so, that's very creative of the story he told.
But I never really got into
Okay,
the
so-
story, so I just know that he. Well, go ahead and.
So let me read this first because I think this is important to state, and this is kind of what I was trying to tell you before. Like I'm going into it open-minded, right?
Which he did talk about how it took him forever to come out about it because he didn't think people were gonna. Well, he also said that.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, we'll get into that right now. So it's important to approach claims of pre-birth experiences with a healthy dose of skepticism and critical thinking, and to consider the potential limitations and biases in anecdotal reports. So basically, go into it with an open mind.
I try, man. I really try. I'm trying to work on that as best I can when it comes to these particular topics.
But yeah,
I'm having to unwrite a lot of wiring.
so the reason he said, well, obviously he didn't want to be that guy, right? Because that's what his wife told him. Like if he comes out with all these crazy pre-birth experiences and saying that he came from another realm and that he picked the human body he was going to be born into, he was going to be that guy. Because he said when he had these recurrences of the memories that he wanted to go and tell everybody, and his wife advised against that. But he had these memories probably flood in as early as he remembers his birth. So he remembers that, but then he started getting these memories when he was about 4. And then from 4 to 30, he said that he
6 to 30.
okay, so from 6 to 30, he completely forgot that he even had those memories. And then somewhere along the line, when he turned 30, all these memories started coming back to him and he started remembering him. But he said the weird part about that is when he remembered these pre-birth experience thought or memories, he said it felt very natural. He was just like, oh yeah, like how could I have forgotten, right? Type of thing. And his story was crazy. Like I watched it like twice already, and I was gonna watch it a third time, but it's like an hour or something.
Hour 15 minutes.
Yeah, so it's a Next Level Soul podcast, and the guy's name is I'll insert it right here. I forget his name, but yeah. So I've never heard a pre-birth experience story. I've heard the after death and.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I was like, I thought it was another video of near-death experience, and
So
I see.
that's why I sent it to you.
Whoa.
Yes. So he said he's come across a handful of people that have had the same kinds of stories, but on the podcast he said that he's the first one with that account that he's heard of, the interviewer. So I thought,
okay.
So I thought it was interesting because the way he was describing what the pre-birth was like was insane. It's almost like you're just in this waiting facility realm type of deal that other beings are floating around in, and it's just like there's no bodies. It's just like pure consciousness and energy, and the way you communicate is through telepathy. And
Yeah, I think that was interesting because he mentioned too that there was no words because he even just like at the beginning of the podcast he described how our language is going to be extremely limited or limiting on his ability to convey what his experiences were, and how like you felt the essence of the other being like when you're talking with them like telepathically.
Yeah.
Like it was like you actually felt their
what they were
happiness
feeling,
or
yes.
sorrowness or whatever they were. Yeah, it was that part was interesting.
Strange, but it was so real, so much even more real than what I experienced day to day. These memories both seem incredibly ancient and also like they're happening right now. Like they feel like they're millions of years ago, but they're also alive right in this moment. I don't know how to describe that. It's not like an earthly memory. So I remember long, long ago, before I had ever been physical at all, had any physical incarnations, coming across a being who had been physical. And I could feel from this being the quality of his nature, his essence. This is very hard to describe, but in those systems, we share telepathically. Everything's telepathic. We just have a constant sharing of feeling and information and knowing. It's not like here we have to throw clunky words at each other. There, you can actually feel the other being as a part of you, and the environment is part of you. You're connected to all things. And I felt from him this amazing joy and power. And I asked him, my goodness, what could you possibly have done to be this? And do you feel as much joy and power as I feel that you feel? And he shared yes. And he shared with me this huge amount of information and feeling. And it was so beautiful and so full of power. And I said, I want to do that. I want to do that. I'm going to do that.
Where do I sign
Where
up?
do I sign up? Yeah, exactly. And he said playfully, like, yeah, that's what they all say. Like, you don't know how hard it is. You don't know. You just don't know how difficult it is. And I said, no, I mean it. I want to do this. And he said, well, go talk to your guide.
When that's like right off the rip what he was saying when he was about to go into the story of the podcast. He was like, this is very, very hard to explain. Like, this words will not do it justice because the words just aren't, you have to feel it. It's something you would have to experience and feel. Like, words, I'll do my best, but I'm going to explain it how I know how to explain it. And basically he gives his account on his pre-birth experience. And I think basically he was explaining it like the way it's set up. You can basically choose the kind of life that you want to live.
But anyway, to your question, yeah, so I reviewed what it would be like to be me in these various branches. There were events in it, but it was less about events and more about what it would feel like to be me, to be exactly me. I remember reviewing qualities about the life and then making requests. For instance, I remember asking if I could be intelligent again because I knew that I had been intelligent in the last few lives and it was a trait that I preferred and I didn't want to, experience a life without that quality. And they said, yes, you can do that. And I knew that certain qualities of my parents would be very important. Like, for instance, I knew that my father would instill confidence in me and that confidence would be paramount for me to have like a rock to stand on to meet this fear, and that was something that my father did for me. He was very accepting. And so in order to play a human, you have to have a certain level of, the language is very lacking here, but soul proficiency. And so then the guides are very adept at matching. And so they are very good at like going through the database, you could say. You might think of it like putting in a search, Google search or something. Like they put in parameters, and this is just a metaphor. They put in the parameters of you and your intentions and what you're looking for. They get back some results, they review the results, and then they take some to you and ask you, what do you think about these? Some people are given multiple lives to choose from. In my case, it was just, they brought me one because my intention was very specific. Other beings may have much less specificity with their intention for incarnation, and it's just like, give me whatever, I'll take any slot.
I just want to get in.
I just want to get in and get some experience.
Like, if you want, like, he described it as these beings that were really, really good at matching your personality. Like, your soul has like a personality, and that's the soul that you carry on from lifetime to lifetime. Like, you're always going to have that soul, and you're always going to have those characteristics of whatever that soul is, those characteristics are. They go with you into the next lifetime, whatever that realm may be, because he said that the human experience is just one of many experiences there are to, like, when it comes to experiencing reality. Like, this is just one of them. This is just one way we can experience it, and it has its own boundaries and rules and physics and language. But he said that he described it as this being the most dense one. Like, that was the word he used, which I thought it was interesting. He said it was very dense. Like, this experience was just, it's unlike any other experience in comparison to other ones. But there are other ways to experience reality. But basically the way it works is, he was saying that there's these two, he calls them like technicians. These two technicians are very, very good at matching your, whatever your characteristics are, with whatever the I guess you as a human is going to be. And it kind of like calculates certain variables based on like certain situations, and like, how would your character react in this situation if this happened. And it's just like he described it as like a tree branch, like, of just all kinds of scenarios, and they kind of like match you the best with how you think would fit your personality
into the body. You get
into the
granted.
body. And
Okay.
he said the first time he said he was floating around in the realm, and he came across this being, and he could feel, like you were saying earlier, he could feel the excitement and the joy that the being was giving off, and he could feel it. And it was from having the experience here on Earth. He had come back because he said you can live your experiences and then come right back. Like, that's what happens.
Yeah,
You end up back in that
he
spot.
also mentioned too that like they can choose when their time's done here.
Yeah, you can take. He was saying like you could take breaks, like because apparently this human or this entity that he came across hadn't had a human experience in quite a while, and he himself hadn't had an experience in quite a while. But he could see that he was radiating with this emotion, and he was like, I want to do this now. Like I want to go back because he had prior lifetimes to that. But he said he
That's
want yeah,
interesting.
yeah, he said he wanted to go back and he was ready to go back. And it was one of those things where there's also another part too before all that shit where he describes it as the veil.
Okay, so the veil's just a term, it's just a metaphor, but it means the constraints that go along with being physical and having an incarnative experience. That is the limitation of knowledge, having your memory cut off, and having your connectedness disappear. And it felt to me like the best way I can describe this is the metaphor of like a sound amplifier that produces a pitch. Like you start at a very high vibration, like, and then you turn down the knob, and then when you get to the bottom, you turn it down some more, and then more, and then crank it down some more, and then crank it down some more. That's how it felt in the body of my awareness, to plummet down, lower, into the vibrational place of being physical in the womb. And once I arrived, I was like, I am not doing this. There is no way I'm going to tolerate a lifetime of this. This is so dark. This is such low vibration. I had so much fear. I just let the veil do what it would do to me, and I surrendered to it. I just surrendered to the veil. And eventually, from the point of being in the body, I remember sending one message back to the technicians. Did it take? And them sending one message back. Yes, it took.
And he explained it as the veil being you have no recollection of that, your pre-birth, your kind of little waiting area. You have no recollection of it, and then that's where you came from. Part of the deal is you have to come here and experience this fully. And he said that's where the growth is, being veiled, being oblivious to where you actually came from and having this experience as a whole. Because he said that if you're unveiled and you have these ties to these memories, it kind of decreases, well, not kind of, but it severely decreases your experience here, and it doesn't allow you to fully immerse into the human experience, and it kind of habilitates you. So part of coming here is accepting and knowing that you're going to be veiled. You're going to go into this situation.
But people always have this one question, like, why do we forget? Why is it necessary for us not to remember these quote unquote past lives?
The forgetting is additive for a few reasons. Okay, one, if you want to fully experience being the human, you got to be the human, man. So if you want to be the human in your story, then you need to surrender and let go of everything else to be fully immersed in your human perspective. That full immersion is precisely where the value is. It actually adds perspective value when you can forget everything else and only have the perspective of being Alex or whoever is listening today. And then it's also additive because, like you said, you are basically free from so we do have qualities that we carry from life to life because we are the same soul from given life to life.
Okay. Okay.
So it's like a big form of amnesia.
Or because I know we spoke about on the first episode about doing things because they're like you truly believe them versus not.
Yeah.
Do you think? And I was talking about how like if there isn't an afterlife, then anything you do here matters. So like for you to fully experience the life of a human, you would have to be shielded from the knowledge of your previous life, because then you wouldn't like totally dive headfirst into the human experience.
Basically, yeah,
And
that's
you're not going to get as much from it because you have knowledge. Like, well, I'm going to go back there at some point in time anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
basically that's the point of the veil.
Okay, okay.
That's what he was explaining. That's the point of the veil, and that's kind of what you're agreeing to when you make the decision to try and become a human. Because he said just making it into the womb is a huge deal and an accomplishment within itself. But yeah, and then he said like there's these, just like so you know how Navy SEALs, like they go to boot camp and they train for scenarios that they may come across. Well, he said that unveiling yourself, they have like a simulation for it, and it's basically like practice for the human experience.
So I spent some time practicing surrendering to the veil in a place that I can only describe as a veil acceptance simulator. It was like going to a room where they dunk you under the water of a dark pool and they push you under. This is just a metaphor, but it's kind of close. It's like being pushed underwater in a pool, and then you stay under there and see how long you can like hold your breath, and then you cry uncle and they'll let you out because it's just a simulator. Whereas in the real veil, you can't cry uncle. You have to let it sink in all the way.
And it's like they're dunking your head into this thing of water and basically testing you to see how long you can hold your breath. It's like a metaphor. And basically you do that until you can't no longer take it and you feel like that's it, you're done. I'm done, I'm tapped out. Then they pull you out of the simulation. You keep doing that. You keep doing that until you can eventually become comfortable with it. And then when they feel that you're ready, or when you feel you're ready, then you can really try and have the real human experience. And then that's where the technicians, the guys that he was explaining, pair you up with whatever is the best match.
So how? I guess I guess the question you wouldn't be able to answer it, but
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here thinking, so where does he go from now that he's aware of these memories he's not supposed to have?
Well, towards the end of the podcast, he said he's very much veiled still. Like there's still like a lot of pieces that are missing and everything, but he's still very aware of it. But through his description, he said he's still very much veiled, because the guy interviewing him, he asked him the same thing. He was like, "Well, then how do you cope day to day, knowing that we've come from a different place?" And he said, "Well, I'm still very much veiled." He doesn't consider himself special in any way, like in any way, shape, or form at all. He just kind of lives his regular life. But the first time that he wanted to become a human, he said immediately when he got into the womb, he was like, I'm not doing this. I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like this, whatever it was he was experiencing, he's not used to. Because you have to detach from, he didn't want nothing to do with it. So he pulled out. Like he was done. So he fought all his might and made his way back to the other side of the veil. And eventually when he did that, I mean, he killed the fetus died of the person that he was supposed to be. And then the mother had like a miscarriage or something like that. But when he got back to his realm, he was able to see the pain that he caused because of causing the miscarriage. And he was able to see all the pain that the mother had caused to all the hundreds of people. And he was able to feel it.
And so I mustered my might, and I smoked the veil. I fought my way out, and I was successful at doing that. But I realized that I had killed the fetus that was to be my body, and I had ended the life. And I had a life review, just like near-death experiencers describe. Even though I had never physically been born, I was responsible for how I had affected the mother, and not only the mother, but hundreds of other people who were affected by the mother because of my fear.
Interesting, man. That's a crazy concept. I think this is more intriguing to me than near-death experiences, honestly.
The pre-birth, I think it's way more interesting.
That's intense, dude. Like, interesting enough, like, because shit, I could barely remember what happened yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And to have these memories from a distant. Maybe I'm extremely veiled.
Yeah, we all are, but what drew me in was the fact that it was just so surreal. Like, how do you can make this shit up if like you're Stephen King or something, or maybe, but I've never heard anybody describe anything like that. And he said it was still very limited. The way he was trying to describe it is still very limited to our language. And it was just insane to think that, like, well, what if this is how it works? Like, what if we just keep cycling?
Do you think every human on Earth is like a surrogate for these? Or is there actual humans and we're just like learning the human experience? Like
he did describe like that there are a limited amount of avatars, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he said he said apparently there's a limited amount of avatars, but this isn't the only way that you can experience reality. He says we're multi-dimensional beings having the human experience.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah, because I was sitting there thinking, like, is everybody here like okay, an avatar, or a surrogate, and none of us are actually human, but then that wouldn't be a human experience. So there has to be those of us that are actually human.
Well, no, we're all humans. That's the thing. We're all very much human.
No,
We're ju-
what
we're-
I'm saying, but like a surrogate as like an avatar, like
Yeah.
we're this a craft.
Oh, so you're saying
Like-
because
like
so our
all the-
soul, our body makes up the body. Our body is separate from the soul, is what you're saying, right? So, but it's like they merge together to create this experience. Like,
I guess that's what
it's just a vehicle for us to experience what we're experiencing now. I guess it is a simulation, in other words, right? That's exactly what a simulation is, isn't it? It's just a way for us to experience it on a higher level, on a more
I
dense
guess the
level.
question I have to ask is, what's the benefit?
The benefit, shit, I guess.
Because I'm thinking like, okay, so if you just applied this to like, if this life is the only life that's here, and just, this guy is off the rockers. Like, to me, this is like a video game.
Well, they described it as Zelda.
I
said-
was thinking like The Sims.
He
but
was like, yeah. So basically, I'm the player, and the person that I am is Zelda.
Mhm.
Like, you have to be Zelda though. You can't have any recollection of or any knowledge of the controller, the guy who's controlling the guy who's controlling Zelda. Like, you have to be Zelda. You just got to be immersed fully into it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just want.
And I'm horrible at explaining
No,
this.
no, no,
That's
no,
why
no.
I would. That's
But
why
I'm just
I
like
write
I'm
shit
just sitting
down,
here
but-
thinking like, as these higher beings, these sentient beings or
Yeah.
divine beings, whatever you want to call them, like what they're gaining from this experience.
Yeah.
Like what is it that's so captivating
Well,
about the human experience for
so-
them that they keep coming back?
It's
I want-
confusing, right?
did
It's
he-
like, how
did
do you
he-
even make sense of it?
Did he at all describe what he meant by the word dense?
There are many other reality systems and states of being.
But this is
available to us.
this is the densest.
I don't know if you want to go down this avenue, but I remember knowing, I know this is going to sound really woo-hoo, but I remember being aware as this universe was going to be created and knowing that there was this intention being issued forth from source, but through us all, we were all involved to take this to the next level, like the next density, the new lowest density experience. We were full of so much excitement, Ed. So it's like this, there's like this huge in-breath and out-breathing of universes, you could say. And there's like this beautiful pause between, this is very hard to describe, but there's these moments that there's a pause and then, okay, now we're going to take this to the next level. And there was so much excitement to be able to be this dense, to have this extreme level of engagement and contrast, because then the opportunity for expansion is that much more.
That was that
Because,
when
like,
he described it like that, it was
when-
super interesting to me.
Because like when you're having an argument with somebody and they're saying like, dude, you're being dense.
Yeah.
That's like a
heavy, I
derogatory
would just say
term.
heavy, you know.
Like, or dense in the way where it could be like there's so much involved in the human experience that it's hard to, you need to have multiple trial runs for the same reason why I'd say like you watched Breaking Bad so many times, right?
Yeah.
You and I have.
Experience it
'Cause-
differently.
Yeah, it dense in that fact that there's so much to extrapolate from one run through Breaking Bad. You have to watch it several different times to catch things you didn't catch the first time or
Mhm.
the third time. I wonder if that's what he meant by the word dense.
All I know is that word was very like and captivating to me. Like, it just when he described it as that, it was just like, okay, we're dealing with a whole different level here, a whole nother set of circumstances that and things that we just have no idea what's going on. And that's how he described it. And I was like, what the fuck?
That's interesting, bro.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think we need to elaborate more on that or no?
So we put a peg in it and move on to something different.
Okay.
I kind of like the progression we're going
Okay,
through.
let's spin the wheel one more time. Okay, we can talk about this one. Chasing PRs or lifting effectively. Let's talk about this one.
Chasing PRs or lifting effect. I guess it depends on your goal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people. I mean, if you're going for powerlifting, then your PR is everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to build a body, then your goals shift.
Do you feel like some people can't make that decision? Like
I think
separate
people,
those two?
Yeah, I think
They
people
can't.
often,
They don't know what they want to do.
Yeah, I think people often find themselves stuck in the middle because it's like to build a body. I mean, you have to. I mean, the body, dude, it's very, very adaptable, and I mean, if maybe this might be a stretch too far, but your body's literally evolving because of the stresses you're putting it under, right? So if you're trying to build a body to your specifications, you do that by the frequency of the weights you're lifting, so the amount of reps you're doing, but also the load matters. The amount of weight plays a factor. If you're, let's say you start off on a plate, that's as much as you can do for 2 reps, right? And then you get to a point where your body adapts to the stress. Now you can do it 27 times straight. You're not going to build as much muscle because you need to adjust it to put your body under more, because now your body's going to have to create more muscle fiber and things of that nature to compensate for the stress you're added to it. But I know myself, I'm guilty of this. Like I had a PR a couple weeks back, which was 315 for 1 rep on bench press. To me, that was a massive milestone.
And I want to say this on air. Congratulations. I told you that through text already, but that's a big deal. Those of you who don't know, congratulations.
So yeah, 315 pounds is a lot of weight. Do I try to get that every day? No. Like for me, it was just to kind of see the progress that I've made through my strength. I guess it's kind of like a benchmark.
It is very much. They say when you hit 225, like you're an official gym bro.
Yeah. So going forward though, man, but I'm trying to build mass. You know what I'm saying? So if I was trying to go for strength, then the way that I would lift weights would be different. I'd be going for a different rep range. Because it'd be nice to be able to rep 315 out for 8 to 10. I'm a long ways away from there. I went for 2 after that one, and I moved the bar like 4 inches, and it almost killed me. It just felt like,
So how many times you hit it, 2?
I did it once, so I'll kind of walk through that experience real quick. So my buddy was there to spot me because that was the most I've ever done by 40 pounds. I repped out 275 for like 6 or 8 by myself. I think it was 7. I was like, if I had somebody else here, I'd probably go for more, but there's no sense in getting hurt.
Can I ask how much you weigh?
It fluctuates, man, anywhere between 220 and 226. Somewhere, it just depends on the water intake and how much I sweat and all that kind of stuff. So somewhere in that neck of the weights. I'm trying to go lower. I'd like to walk around about 190 with the current muscle mass that I have. I think I'd look pretty good if I drop some body fat percentage. But anyway, so my buddy helped me unrack the weight, dude. And that's the first time I got to feel the full force of 315 pounds on a bar, man. I was like, dude, this is heavy as hell. Like,
it's dense.
Like, yeah, dense, bro. Like, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, I better control this on the way down because I don't want it to come crashing down on me if I can't lift it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I went down, touched the bar to my chest. Didn't try to explode up, but just tried to press it forward. And I moved it a few inches, and I kind of hit a bit of a wall. And then I was like, not today, devil. And then I tapped into my unlimited pre-workout inspiration. And I moved the bar, like, not with ease, but it was a smooth.
Slowly went up.
Right? And I was like, I felt confident. I was like, dude, that went up easier than I thought. Let's go for 2. Went back down. Moved the bar like 4 or 5 inches, and then I was like, all right, save me. It's coming down. It's killing me, So my buddy had to spot me just to get the bar back on the rack. But so I hit one.
You got it. You got it officially, yeah.
I hit one officially. But no, man, like, I think people we call it ego lifting. I think that's a big thing, man, because, like, we
all have that phase, though. That's the thing.
But some people get trapped.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's like they get trapped.
It's hard to find your way out of that because in the beginning, it's so fun. In the beginning, it's so. You know what I'm talking about?
in the beginning.
In the beginning. In the beginning. Yeah.
In the beginning. I mean, I was stuck on that board for like an hour in front of a speech. Bro, first
in the
in the
beginning.
what's your one? What's your one? Yeah.
In the beginning. Well, in the beginning,
In the beginning.
it's fun watching yourself, feeling yourself progressing in weight, moving up in weight. Like I started at the 50s, man. When I first started lifting, I had to
That's
have
so impressive at its own, bro.
I had to have Jeff spot me on flat bench dumbbell press on the 50s. He was like, "Yeah, you could do it, bro. You could do it." And then just slowly moving up, it was like, shit, eyeballing the 60s. All right, check it off the list. Eyeballing the 70s. But some people don't ever get out of that mind state. They're only focused on getting stronger rather than building muscle.
And again,
it's two different things.
And that depends on your goal. Like, sure, I mean, look at the strongmen. These guys are massive monsters.
It's addictive though. That's what I'm saying.
But if you, I don't think it's feasible to simultaneously do both because those guys have to eat like ridiculous amounts of food to maintain their frame and to fuel their body for those activities. So they're not going to look like a body. Like you can still like some of these guys, dude. Like Eddie Hall.
Oh man, one of my favorites.
Like you can still see the impressions of his abs. He's a
Yeah.
big dude. Now, if that dude were to cut, that dude would be a monster. But now the training is going to have to change.
Well, he's going
You know
into
what I'm
bodybuilding now.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
wow.
actually this whole year. He said he's dedicating to getting onto the Olympia
Dude,
stage.
and he has the frame for it, man.
He has he has everything for it. He's built for it. But
So
he already knows it's a completely different style of lifting.
it's 100%, dude. And yeah, I think people get caught in that feedback loop of just like chasing that number. And for me, I would say the average person just wants to look and feel better about their image, right? And what were we gonna say?
No, sorry, you weren't done.
And again, I'm speaking generally here, but I think that's true of most people that find this. They're not trying to be on the stage of any sort. They're not trying to compete in any sort of strongman competition. They're just, hey, I'm trying to improve whatever they're trying to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And they just get lost in translation, man. And for me, it's like injury. The heavier you go, the more prone to injury you are. And if you start skipping, your form and sacrificing your form to push more weight, all the work you just did up until that point, if you get injured, just went out the
Pointless,
window.
yeah.
Because if you allow yourself to properly recover, it's gonna take months. That way you don't irritate that injury. Now you're starting from scratch again. Now you bounce back a lot faster. You do when you have a baseline that you started. You have a foundation. It's easier to rebound, but it still
Mhm.
takes time. Why not lift to a point where you mitigate injury? Every time you go to the gym, you're prone for a weight can fall out of your hand, you break your foot. You didn't stretch properly, or you haven't been stretching properly, and a tendon gives way. And there's a lot of things that can happen anytime you step foot in the gym. But to start chasing those numbers and sacrificing form and putting yourself in line for a potential injury, that's where, to me, like,
Mm-hmm.
is it worth it?
Yeah. I'd rather just lift safer and have to lift a little bit lighter and be able to have the opportunity to get in the gym and keep lifting
Yeah.
rather than hurt myself. Or even the same thing when you get sick. It's like now I'm out 2 weeks and all that progress that I made, I feel like I just went completely ass backwards, and now you feel like you're starting from scratch. And then,
I mean, I think it's more of a in your head.
And when
than
you
anything
become
else, but-
injured, it is very much so like you're going to start from scratch.
Oh, yeah,
Because
100%.
depending on your injury, and maybe something that you can physical therapy work through. But if it's severe enough, if you're lifting heavy enough, it's most likely going to be severe and going to be a tear or a break in some cases. You're out of there. You're out of there for 6 to 8 months, man. You got to recover.
And that's if you properly allow yourself to
Yeah.
heal. Because some people will be like, I feel good today,
I'm good. I'm going.
and then boom, you just reset that healing process again.
I
you know?
wanted to ask you something. This might be controversial, depending on who's watching it. But I've always thought, like, at that level of body, or I guess strongman and even bodybuilding, they're consuming so many calories.
Mhm.
They're consuming so much food to a point where, yeah, it's necessary to look the way that you want to look and perform how you want to perform. And I know certain people have different circumstances. Like for those who are competing, there's those who don't. Regardless, you're consuming a lot of food. Do you think it's gluttonous to do that? To consume that amount of food? Like, do you think it's not wasteful because it's going towards what you want to do, but at the same time, you're consuming a lot of food and taking a lot off the shelves?
I mean, I guess if you think about it in that fashion, yeah. Is it necessary for you to eat that food? But
Necessary?
but fucking I. But morally speaking, is it can you rationalize
That's what I'm
eating
saying.
consuming that amount of food?
That's what I'm saying.
But I think if you're at that point in your life, rationality for that particular thing is out the window. You know, you're in a position where I think for those of us that live in the West, like, okay, so I just took a couple packs of chicken off the shelf. That means someone's gonna starve. Not really. They're gonna get restocked as soon as they
When
see it's
you
low.
when you say the West, yeah, but like, let's think about worldwide.
Well, worldwide, a lot of the things we do here are gluttonous. You know, I mean, how much food have you ever thrown away in your life?
Okay, so
You know,
I
I
could say
mean-
this. If I'm good point, and I could say this the same about showering. Why am I fucking taking a 20-minute shower when there's people in the world who have to be careful about the amount of water that they're using just to wash fucking dishes or whatever, or wash their ass?
or to drink.
Yeah, or
You know?
to drink, and to consume, and to survive. And I'm over here just, I'm going to end it with a cold shower.
So I mean, that's really a different discussion, and because that's a whole other. You know, to me, it's like those people, man. Like Jordan Peterson talks about this.
This is George Peterson.
He goes like people that say like they hold signs saying like poverty's wrong. He's like,
Uh-huh.
you think you're doing something by saying poverty's wrong? Like, have you ever met a person that's like, I'm for poverty?
Mhm.
You know, like it's one thing to sit there and chant like, oh, we're being wasteful, but
Mhm.
you drive a car, that's not good. You have an iPhone, that's not good. If you got down to brass tacks, like to prove the point I'm trying to make, Brett, I watched a podcast last night,
Mhm.
or I finished it last night,
Of who?
and I was the podcast called PBD Podcast by
Mm.
Patrick Bet David, and he interviewed Brett Weinstein. And the guy asked him, "What, in your opinion, would be the worst weapon ever created?" He said, "If I did my job right, it'd probably be the piece of paper, written thought." Because
Did he come up with that though?
no, that was just like he said, if he did a job
And
right,
just in general.
it would be
Oh,
something
okay.
like that trivial. We're thinking
Okay.
like the atom bomb or whatever, something that small. And I think it's true. Like if we got down to brass tacks, then none of us should have this equipment we're doing. None of us should
Yeah.
be driving the cars that we drive, having the luxuries that we have, cell phones, computers, video games. Like if you got down, if you're only caring about the well-being of everybody around you, then all that other stuff has to get put on the wayside, and you had to start living your life in accordance with what you're preaching.
Mhm.
Because how can you say that, you know, all these mines that they're in Africa mining for lithium
Yeah.
is terrible, but yet you have an iPhone, a laptop, and all the lithium that's in your batteries is coming from those mines you're complaining about. So, yeah, I think it's a really different discussion if we start talking about gluttony and
No,
bodybuilders.
well,
eating
it kind of proves my point, because if you want to go down that rabbit hole, then let's go down that rabbit hole, because you can apply that to anything. Like when you mentioned Western civilization, yeah, over here it's probably not a problem for me to grab a couple more eggs off the shelf. In Brian Shaw's case, 10 more crates
Yeah.
of eggs off the shelf. I just feel like when it gets to that level, that it is a little gluttonous.
Yeah, but I mean, look, dude, to me, it's no different than we'll use Andrew in his construction business.
Mhm.
Like for him to make his living, he has to buy large amounts of fuel for his trucks and his pump,
That can
right?
in a way be wasteful as well.
And so he's providing a service. Now these guys that do it for bodybuilding, that's their source of income. They're not doing it because
That's why I made the distinction between those who compete and those who don't.
oh, for those who can, again, it's gonna come down to, bro, just like each. I guess yeah, it's a gluttonous, sure, but if that's what
I think the real answer is yes, but is it going to
There's
impact us over here in the West?
I'd say
no.
no.
So
But I mean, again, morality speaking, it probably should be that much food.
that's
But
why I said, like, it's controversial depending on who you ask, right? In my opinion, but I would feel like an ass grabbing 10 things of eggs, you know what I mean, and then 500 pounds of meat.
let's just say, for instance, tomorrow night, your financial situation just 180, bro. Like you just have more money than you can do with. And you went to Costco and bought a bunch of snacks for your pantry. I mean, like, would you still be holding true to the sentiment, or would you only buy the shit that you needed
Yeah.
for that particular day or week? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just,
It depends on who you ask.
it depends on, yeah, and it depends
And
on
the
in your
situation.
circumstances, you know?
Okay.
But I feel, man, like, if it's not you, I would say it'd be probably more gluttonous for you not to buy because I want to know how much food they actually throw away. That's on those shelves that don't get purchased.
That's a whole that in itself. Restaurants, if you want to talk about that, that's a whole nother
No,
thing.
I'm just talking about like if you go to the meat section of your grocery store.
How much do they actually get rid of?
How much? Because you see stuff and they'll start
So
putting
let's
sales on it.
utilize what they're putting on the shelves. In other words,
Essentially, I mean, someone had to. Hell, the animal had to die for that product to be there.
yeah,
The person that butchered it, the person that
so
raised
many
it.
angles to hit it.
So
from.
like this is kind of the way, and the store owner that purchased it, they're taking a lot. So I mean, it just depends on how you look at it, man.
I think so. There's so
Or
many
if-
ways to cut it.
Yeah, and then so like maybe you're doing a service by Brian Shaw's doing a service to egg people by buying 10 crates of eggs. Who knows? I'm just saying, it's a multivariable equation, man, and it just depends on your spectrum and where you're looking at it from.
I agree. Should we spin the wheel one more time?
Let's do it.
All right,
I'm
let's
feeling good right
let's
now.
hit the wheel one more time.
This is a good idea because I really like this. We're just kind of bouncing around. Real-time thoughts. I don't know. You put it there, buddy.
McDonald's minimum wage to $20. This is a good one. Okay.
This is going to either make us or break us, bro. I could go
Okay.
on this for a while.
Let's talk about it. Okay, so first of all, let me just give my thought. I think if I could get better service and it can come out faster and it can come out more fresh and the employees are happier, they're less likely to spit in my food and they're more likely to give me some fresh fries and not just dip them back in the fucking oil, I'm all for it.
Hack to that. Ask for fries with no salt and add your salt at home. They'll have to make your fries fresh.
Wait, what?
So the hack to that is order fries with no salt.
Uh-huh.
They'll have to make them fresh.
And then just put your own salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have their own secret ingredient of salt. That's what makes the McDonald's fry what it is because the way they make the salt, I'm fine.
Okay, fine, whatever.
You can put your own salt.
I thought salt was salt. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, dude. Okay, so I see your point on that. I don't think it's gonna change anything because I don't think it's the work that.
It's the demographic. Are you saying
No, man. Like
of the applicant?
There's people that have some really well-paying jobs, and the amount of money they make isn't going to change their performance in the slightest. They're going to act like it's going to. Like, oh, if I had more money, I'd do a better job. In reality, you're not. Because if you had any sort of substance to your character, you'd be doing the best you can do at all times, regardless of the pay. And if you're not adequately, like you touched a good point. I'm not sure it was the last one before last. How you sell your time. Is my time worth $15 an hour? I think most would argue no. But do you have the skills to back that up? Does your resume back up your $15 an hour time? If you don't have any skills, then I'd say no, your time isn't worth that much money. Now, as a intrinsic human, like your intrinsic value doesn't diminish, but your market in the job market, your value in the job market matters. How many attributes and skills do you possess to justify your higher compensation for your work? I would say to work at McDonald's, you don't need to have. You're not a Michelin star chef there. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't have to go to school and study abroad and learn all these different ingredients and techniques for cooking and
temperatures and chemistry.
None of that, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like
you just literally turn a machine on. It's like a Keurig.
I would assume I never worked there, but I would assume it's not that complicated.
Well, go on YouTube. They have a bunch of like POVs of them actually going through the process.
I've seen a guy smashing your burger before he gives it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like
nuggets are empty.
The issue is, man, they're trying to fix a problem with doing that. And it's not that McDonald's wants to pay their employees $20 an hour. It's the states are regulating the amount of the minimum wage. What's going to end up happening, man, and I think I've already seen videos of this where McDonald's is trying to innovate machines to do the job, make it fully autonomous. So now you're not only are you sure the people that are going to be there to manage the machinery, they'll be getting a decent wage. But how many of those people do you need to make sure everything's working the way it does?
I think a machine would actually do it better.
Yeah, they're not going to get mad and smash your burger before it gets to you.
Or spit in it.
So, I mean, it's just, I think what people often forget, man, there's unintended consequences to everything that we do. You try to forecast as best you can how things are going to pan out, but until that situation presents itself and fully manifests, you don't get to see what that's going to be like until, oh shit, I didn't see that as a possibility. And now here we are and now we can't go back. And I'm not saying, dude, like I know life's rough, bro, and life gives breaks to nobody. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not saying I don't feel bad for the people that are working in fast food joints, you know, and not making a lot of money, but it's like, dude, like How about you try to put yourself into a situation? Is it going to suck that you have to go to school at night when you get off of work? Yeah. Is it going to suck that you're not going to have a big social life after that? Yeah. But if you develop all these skills, you get educated, and then you go put yourself into a better market or a better paying job, I think everybody wins because society gets to benefit from your experience and your expertise, and you're going to be compensated for it. I wouldn't want to work at McDonald's for the rest of my life because I would not want to work at McDonald's. It has nothing to do with the money. I don't care if they pay me $100K a year. That doesn't seem like a job that's that exciting to me. And so I think I don't think it's and then of course, dude, like McDonald's isn't going to say we're going to pay our employees more money. Therefore, as McDonald's, we're taking a pay cut.
Mhm.
They're just going to pass that difference onto the consumer. Now you're not going to be able to get a meal for $10. I mean, hell, the last time I went to McDonald's, I think I spent like $13-14 for myself.
Yeah, now it's ridiculous. You go there for 2 people and you're spending well over $20.
Yeah, and is the food worth $20? No.
Hell no. Dude.
I mean, okay, nuggets. Who doesn't like nuggets? But when I say, yeah,
and that's if they come out how they're supposed to come
yeah,
out.
because I get home and I'm like, dude, you can tell it's been sitting there for a while.
Plastic, yeah.
You know, and so no, that's not. I don't mind paying good money for food. Like that restaurant we drove by earlier today, that Texas de Brazil. You're paying like $200, for 2 people, $150 for your own meal, but the quality of food you're getting is going to be stellar. That's an experience. I don't mind paying that kind of money every so often to go have a experience, but for McDonald's, $20, and that's where we're at now for 2 people. Can you imagine when they actually increase the McDonald's? Be like, all right, cool, we'll pay you guys that amount of money, but that means all our prices are going to have to go up too because we're not going to take a profit loss.
So there's an imbalance somewhere. There's a bottleneck to any way you want to cut that situation. Because now they're jacking up the prices of the food, but that quality doesn't meet the amount that you're paying for that food. Like it's always going to be substandard, and it used to be, it was fast food. Like you go and you were guaranteed an X amount of time that you were going to get your food in, and it was supposed to be fresh. And it wasn't the best, but it was good for what you were paying for and the amount of time that you got it.
Okay. Furthermore, now how many times do you have to go, hey, can you park out front, stall number 2?
Every time.
You know what I'm saying? So then you're not even getting the fast food, the fast portion of fast food.
No, yeah, this is not like I came to like dine in my car food.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be, I'm running late or I'm tired.
So yeah, man, and I think that applies to everything, dude. And I think this when it comes down to, man, when it comes to the equality of outcome versus the equality of opportunity, everyone has is equal to in their opportunities. To some degree. Like there's no laws that I'm aware of into existence that prohibit a specific type of person from going on their endeavors to make themselves worthy for the job market. Whether or not the people interviewing you or not have biases toward your skin color, the color tie you chose to wear during an interview, the way you speak is different. But like, there's no laws in place now that I'm aware of that keep certain people from having jobs. You're only granted access to the dance. You're not guaranteed a partner to dance with at the dance. And I feel like people are just because they're alive, they feel that I'm owed this experience. There's no reason why Elon Musk should have all that money. Well, dude, Elon Musk went out and did a lot of shit that nobody else can do and said he couldn't do and proved them wrong with cars and rockets.
And his time is much more valuable. Time is much more valuable in his hands than it is in anybody else's hands.
Sure.
Because of what he does with it and what he's capable of doing with it.
But he should be compensated for those. Like the man almost went bankrupt, you know what I'm saying, with Tesla. He almost went bankrupt with SpaceX, like the last rocket.
He admits that the business model is horrible.
But so dude, for you going out and doing what you did, you should be compensated for it. Now the conversation comes into play, how much is too much? But to me, that's a different discussion. But dude, you're not granted access to unlimited loads of luxury. And the way that it works best for everybody is you can start off with, how many people have you heard, my childhood was trash. My parents didn't have a lot of money. I had a buddy of mine that was talking about that song by Kendrick Lamar. I don't know what song it's called, but he's talking about eating syrup sandwiches. He's like, I actually ate those when I was growing up. You put syrup on a piece of bread and that was a syrup sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Like, so people, dude, and then now that guy, I work with him, and not that I'm a millionaire, but I do rather well for myself, and he's he was in my police academy with me.
Mm-hmm.
He does well for himself. So it's like, it's nice to see, like, it doesn't matter where you start, you have the ability, with some luck, to get yourself out of that situation and start, something better.
And I feel like people don't see the longevity and the bigger picture in that, and investing in yourself and your mind and knowledge, because it regardless of the situation in life, it's going to affect you indirectly, whether you know it or not. Doing better for yourself, whether that's the state of mind that you're in or the amount of money that's in your bank. People's moods and overall life experience and reactions and little things that we don't calculate affect us because of the situation that they're in. It affects us indirectly, whether or not we like it. Like, if people were just eating healthier, making more money for themselves and doing better, one, they would feel better, which would dictate a change in their behavior, So maybe it's a scenario where you're in traffic and somebody cuts you off. If you're in a position in your life where you're not making very much money and everything is going downhill for you, and you had a shitty childhood because of money and the circumstances you were put in, you might have been trained already to have a reflex that is negative. You might want to get confrontational right off the bat, versus somebody who's in a position in their life where they're doing a little bit better and they have more of an incentive to conduct themselves in a manner that wouldn't cause, severe consequences, like you being locked up or being fined or hell, kill somebody, because of your bank. You're more likely to react in that fashion if you were doing better for yourself. It's like a chain reaction, man. It's like a butterfly effect. If we all just invested a little bit more in ourselves, the balance would eventually present itself.
You spoke on something a little while ago, or when you were asking me what I was looking for. So Shannon Sharp, he's a NFL
football player.
Yeah, a Hall of Famer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking. They were talking about relationships, but it was about the amount of money he made. He's like, football was number one in my life. I was a terrible son. I was a terrible brother, terrible cousin, terrible everything, because football was my only focus in life. And he's 55, not married. I don't know if he has kids, but it sounds from the way that he was talking, it sounds like he doesn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, but what's it worth when you have no one to share it with? Right. And so I think we could just get caught up on the monetary value and not necessarily what it's going to be used for. And he, Hall of Famer, dude, guy made a lot of money, but he's by himself, and it's like, well, I have all these riches. Now what? You know what I'm saying? So I think
you ever watch a really good movie by yourself?
Yeah.
And you're just like, and you want to like look over to maybe somebody next to you and just like share that experience with them and like share the moment, talk about it possibly, and just, pick each other's brain about it. It's like, because you're sharing that experience. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't hit the same when you're by yourself, like a good meal, for example. Sometimes you could even argue that what makes that meal better is the company you're with.
Yeah, and sharing that with somebody,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. And so, like, it's easy for me to say that now because I'm in a position where money isn't really an issue. I'm not rich, you know what I'm saying? But like, I won't go without eating, my truck will always have gas unless I spend my money stupid. I have a roof over my head, things of that nature. But we just get caught up. So it's easy for me to say that because I'm like, well, dude, you don't have to worry about where your next meal's coming from, or you don't have to worry about whether or not the lights are going to be on when you come home from work, So I understand that premise, but like you said, if everybody's striving to be better for themselves, I don't see how you don't get to a point in your life. If you do it enough, man, luck's eventually going to lend its hand to you. Because I feel like luck's often
It plays
overlooked.
a factor.
Yeah, luck is often overlooked. But if you keep doing it, and you're just trying to better yourself, man, maybe you go on 100 interviews and you suck at 99 of them, and that 100th one, you nail it. Now you got the job of your dreams. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep at it, And so I think this whole raising minimum wage thing isn't the answer, because it just shifts the problem down the line. It doesn't really fix anything, because now with things get more expensive, well, how much does your $20 an hour get you? Not a whole lot.
Yeah, complacency plays a huge role in this, because people, unfortunately, they get into a job and they get a couple of raises and they get to a spot where they're comfortable at a job they didn't really anticipate it being there that long anyway, but they're settling because it provides them what they need in the moment and not much more than that. And then that's it. And then nothing else happens for the rest of their life. And
And again, for me, I just say, who's to blame for that? Is everybody else or is it you? I'd say it's you. You got complacent.
I would have to say that's yourself, man.
You got complacent.
You have to if I feel like it does help though when somebody points it out, or maybe a situation in your life causes you to zoom out and see what the hell it is that you're doing wrong. Technical difficulties, we still got this angle. This camera ran out of footage.
So it doesn't matter. We can keep going. So yeah, dude. Okay, so like for me to say that, I have a particular situation that's close to me that touches home, bro. And that's my stepdad. This dude was working the graveyard shift. I don't know if it was 10, 11 o'clock he went in. Come out of work, then go to the police academy, get a few hours of sleep, rinse and repeat. He had an obligation to myself, my sisters, my mom, so he didn't let that slide. My mom worked to help him as well, but he also put himself in a terrible position for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, could you imagine just going to work at a winery all night? Son wakes up, you go to a police academy, get yelled at the entire time you're there, and this guy's prior military, so he knows what it's like to be yelled at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get in the military usually when you're 17, 18 years old. So now as a full grown man, having somebody yell at you and call you every name in the book, to subject yourself to that again, but also see it through. Like, that's a shitty situation, but it proved fruitful for my family.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
The sacrifice.
It was a sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? And so I think we often get too scared of that sacrifice. And it's like, you know what? Would the life that we were living been enough? Sure, we would have had a roof over our head. We would have been fed, but the quality of life that he had for himself and his family wasn't enough. So he made moves to make that change. Is it going to be easy? No, dude. Name one thing in life that's worth having that's ever fucking easy. Anything that has value in your life came at a price, and this is no different than that, dude. Do you think your time's worth more? Like you said, is your time worth more than $20 an hour? I say everybody's time's worth more than $20.
I think, unfortunately, though, for a lot of people, that is what their time is worth to them.
Sure.
So they settle, and then eventually they get stagnant, and then they start feeling some type of way about it, and then we gotta hear about it when I'm at customer service trying to return something for them, and they're in a fucking pissed off mood.
Yeah,
because of the way their life's going, and then I have to feel the repercussions of that.
Yeah,
I take the brunt end of it because you decided to settle, and now somehow you're looking at me like it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a vicious circle that people are in. And it's like, how do we change people's mindsets?
And again, man, and changing the dollar amount per hour doesn't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't do it.
it.
So fuck you, McDonald's, for raising minimum wage to $20 an hour. I want you guys to feed your kids.
No. I mean, dude, it's like
retract.
It's not even McDonald's, bro. Like California is trying to raise their minimum wage like that. Like, okay, let's say the minimum wage is $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say McDonald's employees were really upset and they were trying to advocate, or they were advocating for $20 an hour for their services. And you have paramedics or EMTs that are getting paid around the same, if not a little bit less. In your honest opinion, who deserves more of that money? If anyone should get paid $20 an hour, who would it be? The person that makes you a burger when you go to the drive-thru and still makes you wait outside? Or the person that when you're in a car accident and your leg's chopped off or your face is ripped in half and they're trying to get you to patch you up enough to get you to a hospital where a doctor can hopefully save you? Who in your mind do you think deserves more of that money?
Well, it depends. Is he putting salt on my fries?
No,
obviously
you're
the
EMT.
Obviously the EMT, man.
Like, dude, I'm just like, also the EMTs had to go to school for that.
Yeah, they had to spend their own money. Yeah, it's an imbalance. It's like,
like,
I'm not the mind to correct it, but like, how do you correct it?
And like, yeah, and experience to me should play a factor in your your wages.
I think what happens is, I think this is how you correct it. All right, and this may be one of many ways, but valuing, placing, and holding people more accountable and make it. It actually gets harder from this point, but you have to make people more accountable for what they're actually worth, instead of telling them, well, this is minimum wage and this is what everybody is worth
At the minimum, yeah.
at the minimum. When really you're worth fucking you're like $2 an hour maybe, because I've worked with some people that are just worth shit, bro.
Mhm.
Like, and we've all worked with these people
And
that
that
just like,
doesn't
how
matter
are
what
you?
field you're in.
How are you alive, bro? There's no way we're getting paid the same.
Like, how do you not choke on your food to eat? Like, you're just, yeah.
They need to hold these people accountable for that. And I think that's how you fix it. You really, really have to prove why you're worth this dollar amount.
Yeah.
But also, if you're exceeding that, you need to be acknowledged and recognized for that and compensated for that. Because I think a lot of that shit happens too, is where people work their asses off, but they don't get compensated for it.
I still blame the person.
For not being recognized? For working hard?
I mean, sure. Yeah. Because, I mean, the company's got to make a profit. Otherwise, why are you an employee, right?
Oh, so, you're saying you blame that person for staying there?
For staying there.
Okay.
Hey, man, look, I've exhausted every avenue of this job that I can. And I've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that my time is worth more than you're giving me. And if you can't meet me in the middle, there will be somebody else that will pay me this difference. Now, you don't go talk to your boss that way unless you have something already lined up, because they're going to say, well, fuck, there's the door. And then you're left with nothing. But you go find yourself another similar job that's going to compensate you for the shit that you have to bring to the table. And you say, hey, boss, man, I've been with you for the last 10 years. Company B over here is willing to give me what I'm worth. What do you say? I'd rather stay here. I know you guys, and you know how I am. But I think, no, we can't. Cool. Exit.
I left a company like that one time. It was I was working for a construction company, and I that's basically what I did. Another company wanted to hire me at a higher dollar amount, and I liked the company I was with at the time. I was like, hey, look, I'm just letting you know the situation. They're interested in hiring me at this dollar amount. It's more than what I get paid here, but I would like to stay here. Can we somehow maybe, could we work something out? Didn't hear from him. I was like, all right, I'm out. So I left.
Yeah, and that was, to me, that was the best move you could have made. And yeah, I don't think people. So that's, again, I still blame the person.
I agree to a certain extent. Yeah, you should blame the person, and because it like there's so many ways you can. It's like a fishing line to untangle when it comes to like scenarios, because it does depend. It depends on the company. It depends on what the actual, like, what does your job entail? If it's a job that actually gives you room to move up and maneuver your way into different positions, or is it a dead end job?
Yeah, but again, to me, it's like, if it's not adequately filling your coffers to your expectations, then there's a limitless amount of areas you can go.
But there's like so many different scenarios. There's like nepotism and like the boss's kid, and like you're never gonna get this position, man. Even though you're way worth it, and
again,
you're way more capable and qualified than this guy.
But again, I understand.
Then shift. Then
but
move.
it's like, if you see that the only way you're gonna get that position is if the boss's kid perishes or goes to somewhere else,
and you're sticking around waiting for that,
then that's your fault. Yeah. If you truly feel that you're worth that that value, go somewhere else.
Yeah, at some point you.
And I feel all too often as people, man, we just try shifting the blame elsewhere because it's easier to do that than to hold yourself accountable. Is it scary to start a new job, business venture? Fuck yeah, dude! Like, I'm going into a whole new realm. Like, but will it pay off in the end? Who knows? But is the possibility there? Yes, it is. Then to me, it's worth the gamble.
I think it's worth the gamble too. And eventually you got to think about it like this. Whether you like it or not, at some point during this job and this new adventure, you're going to get the hang of things and you're going to be all right. It's not the end of the world, man. And you can always transition. You could do it again. You could just adapt and overcome again as many times as it takes for you to find something that is suitable for you and sustainable for you to figure out what the hell you really want to do. And that may turn into that.
Yep.
Or it may just buy you some time to figure out what you want to do, so you're not killing yourself.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm not going and saying kick the door down to your boss's office and say, hey, fuck you, pay me this amount of dollar amount, and have nothing lined up, because then, well, that's not smart, because if you have a family or
play your cards right.
Like, you put yourself into a real shitty financial predicament, but you acquire the avenue of exit and then say, hey, man, like you said, like you did with your guy. They want me for this amount. I like you guys. Are you willing to meet me in the middle or to give me what they're asking? And okay. I'll take more service elsewhere.
I said 30 or I walk. At the time, minimum wage was like $12.
Yeah, it's good. Even now, it's still good money. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, man. I just don't. I can't rationalize the thought for me anyway of not taking your own responsibility and for your place in life.
No, yeah, I truly I agree with you there. I think everything is in your own hands, and the way your life turns out is based on how you approach it.
Yeah, and again, man, like I think the words that you said on the first podcast, I think it was of this new one, uh, selling your time for $15 an hour, dude. That stuck with me, dude,
Mhm.
because that's just essentially what we're doing. So you, if your time is worth more than that amount per hour, then demand it. And if you can't demand it because you don't have the skills and traits to
Get
back
those
it up,
skills.
go get those skills and traits so you can demand higher for your time.
Son of a bitch. I don't know if we have enough time to spin the wheel again. It's been like 2 hours.
Fuck
And
it.
our cam we went till the wheels fell off, man. The camera turned off.
So, fuck it. We'll end it here.
Yeah, we end it here. I had a good one, man. Do you like the structure?
I do. It's
This way,
interesting.
I
It keeps it
wanted to try-
dynamic.
I wanted to try something a little different. Take some actual notes this time. Give us something to play off of. Spin the wheel and then just go.
Yeah, I'm gonna start taking notes on my shit over here, and
Well, I'll send you more interesting shit, but yeah, you got to do your homework on certain things. So like whatever topic that I think about, I'll just shoot it your way, and then I'll take my notes. You
I have
take
some topics
yours.
in mind for another one too. So
Yeah,
we'll,
to write them down, and then we'll implement them in the wheel, and
Mhm.
then we'll have a segment of the podcast where when we're gonna switch up topics, or if we go on a rant, where you're gonna be notified of that. That way, you're not just left suspended in the air of curiosity. You know what I mean?
we do eventually bring it.
Yeah, it comes full circle. Like I was kind of waiting for you to like circle back on the minimum wage thing, but you made your way back. You
Hey,
went pretty
you know,
far out, but
It's a long-winded way to get to my point, but
Yeah, no,
I
but
won't-
yeah, I'd rather have it that way. But yeah, I'm excited to edit this one with the new camera angle. It's unfortunate it ran out, but what are you gonna do? We're gonna dial it in slowly but surely.
Yep.
We're gonna keep.
we're growing, guys. Give us some time.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Unplug. My name is Marcus Marx.
Just John,
Nah, you're the Yeti.
the Yeti. Excuse me.
I'm gonna bleep that out and
Hell, my next tattoo should right here should be a Yeti, huh?
the Yeti. And I'm gonna get him a Yeti microphone because it's suitable. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. See you guys on the next one.
Peace.